Michael Chiesa.
Forget about it. How you doing, Paulie? How you doing? How you doing?
My very good Italian brother, Michael Chiesa. You see, he's in Italy. He's having a vacation with his wife.
Yeah.
They had the ravioli today. They had the drinks. It's after hours there in Italy. It's late night for Michael. Michael, we have a lot to talk about, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Michael, hold on. Let me get the microphone nice and close for this one. Sean Strickland is the middleweight champion of the world.
Dude, so obviously, for people that don't know, I'm in Italy on my honeymoon. I'm 9 hours ahead of the West Coast. I don't even know how many hours ahead of New Zealand I am. All I know is there's no way in hell I'm staying up for the pay-per-view. I'm like, I'm going to watch in the morning. In me not being as sharp as I should have been, you should stay away from your phone if you're trying to avoid results.
Always. You can't even open Instagram.
When I woke up and saw Sean Strickland actually beat Israel Adesanya, I did not believe it. And you know what? He did it handedly. Am I surprised? Yes. But also on the other side of it, I'm not. Because we also did say, for the people that tuned into the last show, Sean does possess the skills to make it a competitive fight. I said competitive. I didn't say he has the skills necessary to win. But he proved us all wrong. I mean, this is one of the biggest upsets of the year, and he did a pretty dang good job of taking it to arguably the greatest middleweight of all time.
Bro, a lot has been talked about Izzy's night, right? Mm-hmm. Not being what it should have been, not being what we anticipated. Fair point, and I agree that maybe he didn't have his best night, but we did say on this very podcast that to win, Sean would have to have his best night. And let's not forget that he did do that. He had his best night. Him and his team, and the game plan wasn't even executed the way they had anticipated. Him
not
and
at
Eric
all.
Drilled takedowns religiously for that fight, and he never even really got to use it because he found the openings. He found the pressure. One of the things real quick, I know we could talk about this one all day. We got a lot.
I got stuff to say too. So, before we get to the rounds, Morgan, I'm sorry. Paul and I got a lot to say. So
we're going to talk about the ability for him to block and neutralize the kicking game of Adesanya was something to behold. I even texted Eric that. I was like, dude, the way he neutralized the kicking game, because that's where I thought that Izzy was really going to be able to chew Sean up. Not at all. Block, check, move forward, front kick. He throws that front kick. That front kick has nothing on it other than a prod to the gut, so he can stay right in front of you and keep you. Sean fights in fighting range 25 minutes without getting hit much.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, as well as I do, Paul, it is way more exhausting to be the guy on your back foot for 25 minutes trying to counter strike as opposed to the guy on the front foot trying to bring the offense, trying to lay on the pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make excuses as to why Izzy lost. Sean was the better man, fair and square. There's no way around it. But I think that I think Izzy really anticipated wrestling. So I think maybe in the back of his mind, he was just waiting for that takedown. I think maybe their game plan was kind of oriented around Sean wrestling. And maybe that's why Eugene Behrman in the post-fight press conference said, if we made a few small adjustments, we could win that fight next weekend. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is we've had a huge, just a changing of the guard this year. Wow. So many different champions, long reigning dominant champions have lost their titles. And Sean Strickland would be the one I would have least expected. So good on him. You can always expect the unexpected from Sean Strickland.
And just from this sport in general, right? Like anytime that you think about other sports and how great they are, it's MMA will always have that value to it that you can think you can be getting. People were guaranteed. I was talking. It was my mom's birthday. I was over there before the fight started. We had dinner with my brothers and everybody, and even my brother Tommy. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he was like, "Bro, tonight, like, forget this. Like, dude, this." Yeah. I don't think he said it's a joke, but he might as well have just been like, dude, why are we even watching this? And I was like, dude, because there's nobody else. And it has to be Sean. He's next up. Drickus, it didn't work out. Injuries, whatever it was.
I have the same manager as him. He was out. Yeah.
Yeah. He's out. So it's like, it's Sean. and he steps up and he's willing to do it, and he did it. And I mean, it was epic. I mean, yeah, here we go. And Drake, man, listen, if I do come back to ever fight again, Drake, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am. You don't care about me. And
Keep it that way. I do not want Drake.
Keep it that way.
Did you see American Top Team tweeted him? American Top Team tweeted him. It was like, dear Drake, please do not ever bet on anybody from our camp. Signed, American Top Team, also known as Dan Lambert. So I mean, Drake, don't ever bet on me and Paul. Don't even watch Roundup. I'll listen to your music. Don't even watch Roundup. Get out of here.
No.
Anyone else, you're free to watch.
Because here's the thing. If he promoted Roundup, we'd probably go under quick. I mean, it would be a wrap. You know what I mean?
All odds would be stacked against us.
Yeah, we'd be off air, off YouTube, canceled. What a I mean, that's the main talking point, right? And we will have questions about it. We'll have questions about some of the other fighters too.
Yeah.
I guess there's really not too much that we need to get into other than get into these 5 rounds. We'll have a lot of discussion points off of that co-main event. I know we have questions about it from the fans, which was pretty awesome performance as well. So let's just get right into the 5 rounds. Let's get after it today. Who's next for Dos Santos? Felder, Paul. What a showing for a short notice scrap against a savage like Kape. I agree wholeheartedly. I was losing my dang mind here in my basement watching it with a buddy Bill.
Good. That fight was good.
So good. That kid is tough as nails. The shoot the box kids, they all have this Charles Oliveira. They all have this just energy and this commitment to bring violence in a fight. And dude, they're tough. You know, these guys are beating the out of each other to be able to perform like that against somebody like Kape, who was having a good night and he couldn't get him out of there. And the kid kept coming back.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give your flowers to Diego Lima. Diego Lima is a tremendous coach, OG of the shoot box lineage.
Yeah.
And that Dos Santos kid, I mean, way to step into a huge opportunity. DC said it best in the broadcast that he just doesn't underestimate any of these up and comers fighting their first fight against these ranked fighters. Man. These guys that you don't know about, they are hungry. There's a new guard. And a lot of times, Paul, you know as well as I do, these guys that have the number next to their name are not the youngest fighters in the game. So when you throw in a 23-year-old prospect that's got nothing to lose and everything to gain, good on Manel Kape to expect a tough fight. And to get to what MMA Alien said with this question, I would like to see him fight Sumidarji. Sumidarji's a ranked guy, but I think for Dos Santos, let's give him a little break. Let's give him a fun fight with someone outside the rankings, try to bolster him a little bit. Let's give him Victor Altamirano. I think that'd be a great fight. I like Victor a lot, and I think that'd be fun. And let's give him a break. He already jumped in there with Manel Kape.
Yeah,
let's give him a little less
competition. Let the body heal, man.
Let's build him. He's 23. There's no need to rush him.
Dude, that kid has a styling. He's the lighter version of Charles Oliveira, where you talked about, if you give that kid the right fights, and listen, we talked about this before we started the podcast tonight. There's no gimme fights in MMA, as we now for sure know, right? These champions becoming new champions, beating guys that they have supposedly no chance against. That's the beauty of our sport versus a lot of other sports. You can gamble on certain professional sports way easier than MMA. You know, when friends ask advice, I don't even give it anymore. I'm like, dude, I wouldn't have told you Sean was going to win a 5-round 4-1 unanimous decision, all 3 judges' scorecards. No way in the world. But I agree. Give him somebody that's fun. That's a challenge because the kid is good enough. But let's let the rest him up a little bit and let him go and put on a performance, not on short notice, because goddamn, do I want to see that kid fight again.
And the crazy thing is he made weight on just like 2 or 3 weeks. He made weight twice.
Yeah, which means he's disciplined outside of having a fight like that scheduled, man. Yeah. And that's what you want to see. That's what
good on Dos Santos. Yeah, it's like, I know they got fight of the night, but that's like outside of Sean, that would be the fighter that shined the most over the.
Bro, I was raving about that kid's skills and his toughness and durability and pressure and
promise.
Yeah.
And promise. Yeah. There's a lot of promise in that kid for sure.
Yeah. But you don't want to feed him to the Sharks again, because he just got the top of the division right away.
Yeah.
And held his own fantastically. But it's like, all right, you had a great night. Let's give you somebody else.
Let's give him the Alex Pereira treatment. Let's give him the Alex Pereira treatment. Or Alex Pereira.
Alex.
All right, round 2, Morgan.
Let's do it.
What matchup is next for Volkov that makes the most sense after a performance like that? Paul Felder's lung. That
dude.
is a piece of your lung.
Oh my God.
Is it weird that I recognize that?
I didn't even notice that. You know why? It's been a while since I talked to that part of my lung, but
do you still have it by chance? Did you get to keep it? Is it like in a container?
That's in some biodegradable container that's been disposed of many moons ago in
Phoenix.
How
cool would have been if you would have kept it in like a container on a chain?
Dried it out, put it on a chain.
That's a piece of my lung.
I remember talking to the doctors about that. I was like, so what's my cardio going to be like?
Get it.
They're like, you're going to be the same as you were, minus like 0.0000001%. You'll be all right.
Just tell me you want it back. It's yours. You reserve the right to own that chunk of your lung.
I think triathlon grew that part of my lung back, basically. So
you're not human. Right. You're not human. Back to the question. What's next for Volkov? Well, Alexander Volkov finds himself in a position where he's elite. This is a top 5. This is a perennial contender in the heavyweight division. It's time for him to start lapping the division. Fight guys that he's already fought. Doesn't matter if he's beat him or if he's lost to him. It's just time for him to start having rematches.
Yeah.
And there's one that stands out to me. Him fighting the winner of Curtis Blades and Jailton Almeida. While he hasn't fought Jailton Almeida, that might be the next guy. But whoever wins that fight, I think that's the next fight for Alexander Volkov. And it just sounds good to me. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's number 7. He's fought everybody.
Everybody.
Dude, he looked good, man. His English is getting great too. Like, he's doing great interviews now. He's definitely trying to step up his promotional game for himself. On the embeddeds, and I was watching the countdown and stuff. Like, I like this dude. I think he's got a sense of humor and a funniness about him that we can't quite get through in translation. And now that he's starting to like show himself a little more, I mean, the dude's been around forever, but really we didn't get to know him too well, right? He's just a scary Russian guy. And now it's like, this dude's kind of a goofball that can freaking fight. And
I feel like for how old he is, I feel like he's really coming into his element. Like that.
Just, how old is Volkov now?
I think he's like 34. He's like a year or 2 younger than me. But in fight years, he's got a ton of pro fights. And I just feel like that's the bet. When Volkov's on, he looks like a guy that could be heavyweight champion. But when he's off, he just looks like, for lack of better words, I don't mean to be disrespectful. If he's having a bad night, he doesn't look like he belongs there. But who am I to say? When I lose, I get Darce choked by everybody and their mother. But when I'm on, I look like I could beat anybody in the world.
Michael, he's only 34.
Oh, wow. Well, see, but in fight years, he's got a lot of pro fights.
That's true. So, and that is something to be noted that there is a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know who he's going to win, but I mean, you go and win again against Ty, who really brought it too, right? He tried, dude. He tried to stay in there with every shout out to Tai Tuivasa, man. You could tell being in his home country, he was like, I'm not going out without swinging to the death. And he had to be submitted because of it. I mean, he fought as hard as he possibly could, but he was definitely outmatched. And then to get Ezekiel choked, crazy.
Well, he had the right game plan too, Paul. And because striking is your specialty, and you know that if you are significantly shorter than your opponent, the first line of offense is you have to attack the legs. That's the longest strike you have when you're fighting a taller opponent, is you have to use your legs. And Ty did a really good job of that. And I mean, couple more of those kicks, who knows how that fight would have panned out, because he really, really butchered the legs of Volkov. He didn't fight a bad game plan. He fought smart. He fought as smart as you can, given the physical discrepancies.
Yeah. It's just one of those guys you hate to see lose, right? He's a fun guy, and
I wanted a shoey in Sydney. I wanted the Sydney shoey.
Yeah, it would have been.
When I get off Roundup, I might take a shoey.
I think you should, Michael. You have a beer nearby. You have an old Italian leather shoe that you can possibly.
There's one somewhere around here. This place is from 1947. Yeah. Morgan, round 3.
Round 3.
Yeah.
What was that the biggest title upset since COVID? And then underneath of that, they also say Sean Strickland, Fighter of the Year. Man, since COVID. Like, what does that mean exactly, though? Like,
since 2020. You should have just said biggest upset ever. But all I'll jump out because I have a bias. Pena Nunes, the first fight. I mean, I don't even have to go into detail. I can rant for days about that. So for me,
especially since how she finished it as well, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just like this was. There's some controversy here, even though there really shouldn't be that much. It's like there was an off night, that people are saying for Izzy and a decision, and Sean looked fantastic. But in your case, like you're talking about for Pena, maybe underestimated, but got the finish. I mean, that's
best of all time.
Yeah,
like an all-time great, like first ballot Hall of Famer, which Izzy is as well. Izzy is as well for sure, but
no doubt. I agree.
That's up there. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru was a big one. Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko was huge. Jamal Hill. I don't know if Jamal Hill and Glover. That wasn't by the odds, by like the numbers. That wasn't a big upset, but for like the fans, I feel like it was. I feel like a lot of people really thought Glover was going to pull away with that one.
Yeah, especially since he got takedowns in that fight, right? I think everybody was kind of like, oh, if he gets him down, it's going to be a wrap. And Jamal fought through all that stuff. So
and fighting in Brazil. And he fought him in Brazil in Glover's backyard. And for fight of the year, I mean, we have to remember, I know we use the L word not very much on this show, but Sean did lose at some point in this run to get to the title. I think fighter of the year, if I was to have a candidate, it wouldn't be Sean Strickland. This performance will be one that stands out when we go back and look back on 2023, but he's not fighter of the year.
What have his fights been thus far in in 2023 so far? Cannonier. Was Cannonier? Was that in 2023?
Nasruddin Imavov, but that was at 205 and he beat him.
Yeah.
And then he beat Abu. The most perplexing matchup. Abus. I said it wrong. I said Abu, like the monkey from Aladdin. Round 4, Morgan. Get me out of here.
It's after hours.
Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Round 4.
After hours. Yeah, next round.
Oh, Paul, he addressed you, so you have to lead the dance.
All right, Paul. So you think Izzy should get another rematch straight away? Question mark. What's your thoughts? Perhaps let's do Drickus versus Strickland and Izzy versus Cannonier. I've thought about this. This is what I've been thinking about since Saturday night, and I've listened to other pundits and other people's opinions on the matter, and obviously our own DC, Laura, and Annex opinions on it after the fact. And I'm kind of with DC on this one in that I know Dana thinks differently. Talking about an immediate rematch, and I know obviously Eugene Behrman wants an immediate rematch, and I'm kind of okay if that doesn't happen. I mean, this was wild, this was crazy, and it was decisive. And just because your guy has an off night, that doesn't necessarily warrant an immediate rematch. Can you prove why? I mean, if something comes out, why he didn't? But I mean, the division could really benefit from fresh title fights. Let Izzy rest. Let him go chill. Let him go have fun for a little bit and not have a fight on the horizon, because the dude's been busy. The dude fights all the time. And I think he would really do well with some rest and just some chill time, and maybe just wait. Like we talked about it a little bit. Go chill. Even if you really want to stay busy, fight somebody else, but let the division kind of shake out a little bit. Whenever you decide to come back, you're the guy. I mean, there's no question.
Here's what I think. First and foremost, like if you are a professional fighter, there is no off season. Yeah. Basketball, football, baseball, there's an off season. Those are hard sports. Like we don't have an off season. And when you talk about Israel Adesanya, this is a guy that from UFC 243 to UFC 293, that's 50 pay-per-views. He's headlined 10 of those. And I think that he even headlined a tough finale against Brad Tavares. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
he did.
I had a little wine today.
No,
but
he did.
But his strength of schedule is much like Volkanovski's, where they want to fight as often as possible. And at some point, that can catch up to you. And I think for Izzy, I think it's just time to take a break. Not like take a rest, let these fights play out. I think the best thing that they could do from a business standpoint and for Izzy, because you still, even though he lost the title, he has done so much and stepped up in so many ways that you still have to reward him when he comes back. So this is what you do. You put Dricus Duplessis in there with Sean Strickland, and then let Izzy fight whoever loses that fight. And either one of those is a marketable big matchup. If Dricus loses to Sean, you get the heated rivalry between Dricus and Izzy, 5-round title eliminator. If Sean loses to Dricus, you get a rematch, a big rematch that a lot of people would tune in for. So I think that that's the best move. And I feel bad for Cannonier with me saying that, because if they're going to reward Colby Covington for weighing in as the backup when Leon fought Kamaru in England, then you would think that they're going to do the same for Cannonier. And I don't know if they're going to do that. All I know is I think that that's the right way to play out the next fight for Sean Strickland, and that will dictate the next matchup for Israel Adesanya. You got to throw Dricus Duplessis in the title fight.
Yeah, and I think he brings some interest, right? I mean, he's been vocal. He's been, and he just beat Robert Whittaker. I mean,
one of the best. I mean, I still say Robert Whittaker is one of the best in the top 10, maybe top 5, one of the best middleweights of all time. Probably top 5. For sure.
So to do that and the way he did it, yeah. I mean, there's lots. Middleweight got real interesting on Saturday night. Got real interesting.
Sure.
And Chimaev is still floating out there, buddy.
That's the other. I totally spaced that. I forget Chimaev and Costa are fighting.
Yeah.
Chimaev could screw this whole thing up.
Bro,
Chimaev might throw a wrench in all the gears.
Well, now they both can, though, because there was beef between Sean and Costa. If Costa beats Chimaev, bro, they can easily just be like, oh, there it is. There it is right there. I'm telling you, middleweight got real interesting on Saturday.
It's funny because middleweight was like that during COVID. I remember us doing a show, and I said that like middleweight's like a tournament. Like the way they had the matchups planned out, it was almost like we had like this middleweight tournament going on. And while that doesn't feel the same as it did at that point in time,
it's close, man.
Right now, everything just feels like in the middleweight division, it just got turned upside down. Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya. Dricus Duplessis beat Robert Whittaker. Like, you want to talk about a changing of the guard. That is the definition of it.
Yeah.
Right there.
We're in like the upside down from.
This is Stranger Things.
Yeah, we're in Stranger Things for sure. I kind of felt that way. I kind of felt that way on Saturday. I'm like, people are saying things on the mic they shouldn't be saying. Yeah. People are beating people they shouldn't be beating.
We can't even address that. That was terrible.
We won't. We won't.
We all know who, those guys that said that, you're an idiot. You're both
idiots.
Round 5.
Stupid potty mouth.
Yeah. House cat.
Oh!
Here I lay, stunned and inspired after that incredible upset that Sean pulled off. Question for both of you. What is the time in your lives where you pulled off a daunting task by sticking to the basics? This could be in broadcasting, fighting, auditioning, wrestling, #UFC Roundup. House cat, it's a no-brainer for me. I'm sure I could dig deeper and find something else within my life outside of mixed martial arts that would be a better example. But for me, it will always be the tough finale. Like daunting task, stick to the basics. Get out there, take this guy's back, hit him with your bread and butter, get a rear naked choke, and get out of there. Like that will always be like, that's the basics for me. Everybody's basics is different. For Sean Strickland, it's working behind the jab. For certain people, everybody's basics in terms of mixed martial arts are different. Everybody's basics in life are different. But for me, that's the moment that stands out to me. I stuck to the basics. Get to the clinch, get to the back, get the choke, get out of there.
Get done. I mean, one that really jumps off for me is when I fought Danny Castillo. It was the first real big moment in my career where I was fighting on a big pay-per-view. It was Jones Cormier, #1. I was the last fight on the prelims. And I was injured going into it. I had a really bad collarbone injury and couldn't spar much, couldn't do much. And I remember just working behind the simplest things. If you watch that fight back, I threw like 1-2s and I just kept pump faking the knee because I knew Danny wanted to shoot. I never even had to really land the knee. I just, every now and then, if he looked like he was even thinking about a level change, I would pump fake the knee, jab him, leg kick him, jab him, kick him. Jab 1-2, and then eventually found the craziness that was a spinning back fist, but it was all set up with complete basics for the first 2 rounds. round and a half of that fight. And then it was the biggest moment of my life.
This was like a button mash. Like that wasn't basic. That was a high
Yeah, I
level.
didn't mean to do that, right? It's just he leg kicked me. I spun through it and I countered, but I was I mean, all respect to Danny. I'm boys with him on the road now, but all respect. I mean, I was whipping his ass in that fight before that spinning back fist. And as far as broadcasting, I do have one for broadcasting that when I auditioned for Dana White's Contender Series to get that job, same thing, man. You know, you just be comfortable, have fun, be yourself, and you know, pick out the things. I was talking about Holly Holm versus Betch Kohei was my audition that I had to go and do for that.
I think I auditioned for the same one. That was the same event. Was that the same event when, I could be totally wrong, but was that the same event when Amanda Nunes fought Raquel Pennington, or was that a different event?
No.
Oh,
I think
it
was
the
main event for that one. Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah. And card was, I think it was in Singapore.
It was in Singapore. I was thinking of a card in Brazil. When I auditioned, I had never even done a desk show. So they stuck me in front of a camera.
Yeah, me either.
No understanding of the terminology. When they're like, hey, rap. I'm like, rap what? A gift?
Yeah,
like, what are you talking about?
What does that mean?
You want me to stop talking?
Yeah.
Like I should right now. Like, yeah.
They should let us know those things before we get thrown to the wolves.
As somebody that's becoming more of a veteran at the desk, I try to tell the rookies, hey, these are a few little words
things you need help with.
Before we wrap, because obviously I want to do a little just off the cuff round 6. And I want to give a big shout out to Laura Sanko, because we in mixed martial arts, we've had pioneers like Amanda Nunes. We've had pioneers like Juliana Pena, who was the first female to win the Ultimate Fighter. Laura Sanko is the first female to commentate a pay-per-view. And not only did she make history, but she is exceptional at what she does. She narrates the fights very well. And I want to give her flowers and say round 6 is just a shout out to Laura Sanko. Congrats on your debut on a pay-per-view. You shine bright. It was music to my ears. And I feel like she's got so many good little one-liners that I almost want to pull my phone out and like jot them down and take them from her.
She does have some good one-liners.
Laura Sanko, you really shine bright. You were one of the stars at UFC 293.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Like a diamond. It really was good, man. You know, a lot of people were probably like, oh, we're gonna, you know, oh man, it's a big step up. I don't think she was nervous. I think she handled it well. I didn't, and I was listening and watching as if it was just another pay-per-view. You know, she worked really well with DC and John.
She sounded like a vet.
Sounded like a vet.
Like she's been there before.
And it's great, man, because you know, that's a big journey too. To like, that's a long trip. It's weird hours to call those kind of fights.
Loud crowd.
It's a crazy crowd. It's a big jump from like you work Contender, you work some smaller fight nights, and then you get the big show, but you're not getting the big show. You're getting the big show down under that you got to go and travel to. So nicely said there, Michael.
Thank you. I had to do it. I kind of kept that ace up my sleeve. I wanted to surprise you guys, but yeah, good on Laura Sanko.
Glad we talked about it ahead of time, and I could have been more prepared for it. But
hey, what can I say? I've been drinking wine today, so I'm a little erratic. I'm a little.
Well, I mean, I just finished my beer.
Right now, this is UFC Roundup After Hours.
UFC After Dark, and Paul Felder. That's Michael Chiesa.
We're the midnight hours.
Don't forget that we have Alexa Grasso and
Mediterranean.
Shevchenko coming at you this Saturday.
And the co-main event is the last guy to beat me versus
Kevin Holland versus
Kevin Holland versus
that other guy,
Jack Della Maddalena.
That's a great fight.
I just wanted to say his initials. JD.
Who you got there, Michael? Before we go, who you got?
Recency bias. I mean, you always root for the guys you fight, whether they beat you or you beat them. I'm pulling for Kevin Holland, Trailblazer, all the way to the top.
All right.
And in the main event, Grasso. And that's a pay-per-view worthy title fight. So I might as well give you guys my predictions. Main and co-main, I'm taking Holland. I'm taking Valentina Shevchenko. And I'm going to bed. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to bed. I'm going to have dinner with my family. It's not that late here, but I'm going to have one more beer, and then I'm going to wake up and train tomorrow because guess what? I might be coming back. I might not be coming back. We're going to find out.
We're going to find out in like 6 months. I'll be anxiously waiting, Paul.
Yeah, if my hip holds up.
All right, and guys, UFC Roundup, as always, we'll be back for UFC 294. That's going down in Abu Dhabi.
I'll be there.
And you'll be there. I'll be here. Maybe I'll be there. There's a potential
Charles
grappling
Oliveira,
match on the
Conor McGregor,
horizon.
we got
I
him
can't
in.
really say too much, but make sure you tune in to UFC Roundup. Peace.